Welcome to Education Forum. I'm Herman Badillo, Chairman of the Board of Trustees of the City University. The improvement of education affects all New Yorkers. This program will focus on the key educational issues and challenges before us all. My guest today is Christoph Kimmich, who is the president of Brooklyn College. He is a graduate of Haverford University in Pennsylvania, where he got a bachelor's degree, and then he got his PhD at Oxford University in England, majoring in history. He is really a historian and a scholar. He has received a Fulbright Scholarship, a Guggenheim Fellowship, and many other honors. He taught history at Columbia University, and then he came to Brooklyn College, where he was chairman of the Department of History and provost. And then from 1997 to 1999, he was the interim chancellor at the City University, and then after that he was appointed by the Board of Trustees as president of Brooklyn College. First of all, Christoph, I want to thank you for the work that you did as interim chancellor, because you had a particularly difficult situation. That's when I was leading the battle to change the open enrollment policies, and we had a very divided Board of Trustees, and Ann Reynolds had left as chancellor, and you were the interim chancellor. It was a very difficult situation for you, which I appreciated then and I appreciate now, because with all the turmoil at the Board of Trustees and with the demonstrations and picketing and all of that, we needed a chancellor who would maintain a decent level of discourse in the whole university. I'm sure it was no great pleasure for you to be in that role.
Well, I remember it well, and I thank you for saying that. It was an honor to be chosen as interim chancellor, and I think I enjoyed the privilege of being in touch with the university at large, with the outside community, and in helping to bridge that time between the previous chancellor and the present one. Well,
I'm happy to have you back. I'm sure you're happy to be back at Brooklyn College. And you have some interesting programs at Brooklyn College. But first, tell me generally, how many students do you have, and what kind of courses do you offer?
Brooklyn College is an institution that has 15,000 students, mostly drawn from Brooklyn. And it is basically a liberal arts institution with some very strong pre-professional and professional programs in education, in computer science, in accounting and business. The students come to us, however, essentially for our liberal arts program. They come to us for our well-known, nationally renowned core curriculum, which is a solid basis for their study. And they go on to graduate school and to professional schools in great numbers. So we're very proud of those students. They reflect the best that Brooklyn has to offer.
You have a 5-minute video on Brooklyn College. Let's look at that now.
All right.
The gates to the American dream. For the sons and daughters of hard-working people, garment workers, longshoremen, transit workers, first-chance Americans, Brooklyn College has been the gateway to that dream for 3 generations. Today, the gates are still open, and the dream continues to be realized. These students, like their predecessors, have a burning desire to succeed.
Brooklyn College is a school of people who deserve to be there, who had to work to be there, and who are working to be there. Let me tell you, I have been to 6 graduations. And if you want to see what's graduating from Brooklyn College, I encourage you, go to a graduation and look at that sea of people that are graduating from this school. Look at the quality. Look at the people. I mean, it is such a thrilling, inspiring experience.
It's actually a wonderful feeling to watch the students getting graduated and to get the feeling of their engagement in the event and their relief that it's over, for one thing, astonishment that they're in fact graduating, and pride in the fact that they're there with all of the families behind them. The biggest ovation undoubtedly comes when the president asks the graduates to turn around and applaud the people who put them there, and that's the ovation that shakes the rafters. There's no question about that.
My father finished the 6th grade. My mother didn't get to go to college. And there are a number of our students who are also the first in their family to have ever had the opportunity to graduate college. So it's not only the beaming on their face, but it's getting their parents to see such an achievement, since it usually took the family and the student to make it happen. So in a way, I envy them, and I feel pleasure to be a part of the commencement. And the more beautiful the ceremony, the better it is for everyone. And since I have a part of that, I'm really glad they enjoyed the day.
My parents, they're both very, very, very hard workers. I'm not too proud of mentioning this, but they do work in the clothing factories in Chinatown, which are sort of like sweatshops. And that's why I'm in college, because I hope one day I will be able to be financially secure, and I wouldn't have to, work in those kind of places and those kind of conditions in order to support me. And I think this is a great opportunity for me, to go to college, to graduate, to make something of myself. And one day I can, repay my parents for all the sacrifices that they made.
The one thing that we all have in common is that we all want to succeed. We all want to do something we all want to make a difference.
I wanted to have a career as a teacher, and I wanted to write as well, but it was like if a chasm was in front of me, and I was going around the long way, because it would have taken me forever to graduate. But being in the programs is kind of like a bridge to cross that chasm, and the faculty are holding up that bridge, and it was so beautiful.
4 communities of excellence: the Honors Academy, the Science Research Community, the Arts Community,
Now it sounds like...
and the Pre-Professional Community.
Coming from Brooklyn, I knew the reputation of Brooklyn College. My sister and brother went here. My parents before them went here. My grandmother actually was kind of here, not here. Took some classes part-time. And I was familiar with the area. I've used the library before, so it was kind of coming back home.
I'm definitely learning a lot about networking and how to deal with people in the outside world. It's not like a closed environment where you only deal with people of colleges. It's not like that here.
I applied to Oberlin, I applied to Barnard, I applied around, and I was accepted. And then just recently, I've had to make the decision between the Ford Colloquium and, say, Oberlin. And I've decided to stay because I'm in love with the school, the professors, the ideologies, the reasons that the professors came to teach here.
And the training I'm getting here, because a lot of these special programs, they groom you specifically to get into some of the most, competitive graduate schools. People graduate from here, they go to Stanford. I mean, we go places.
My choices weren't very broad. I had no other choice. It was Brooklyn or none. So, in fact, if I had to figure out what an education was worth, then no matter what I've given to Brooklyn College, I haven't paid near enough.
Now that we've seen the video, tell me, when did Brooklyn College get started? Because it said it was some generations ago.
Brooklyn College dates from 1930, when the men's branch of City College in Brooklyn and the women's branch of Hunter College in Brooklyn merged into the first 4-year coeducational institution in Brooklyn, in the borough. And so we're 70 years old, and we've been thriving from the beginning.
Well, actually, you have a very attractive campus, considering you're in New York City.
We have a wonderful campus, and the campus itself was built during the Depression in the 1930s as a real vote of confidence in higher education.
Now, this year, I've been fighting a battle, that is the year 2000, actually. I've been fighting a battle about something that you had had at Brooklyn College for quite some time, and that is a core curriculum. And I got it approved, a core curriculum for the entire university. Mm-hmm. I got it approved by the Board of Trustees and then by the Board of Regents. And it wasn't an easy battle. I was stunned that there were professors at the university who were opposing the idea of having a mandatory course on things like American history. Seems to me that since I wasn't born in this country, neither were you, it would be useful for, and most of the kids weren't born in the country either, be useful to have our students know something about American history. And I had thought that because you have always had a core curriculum at Brooklyn College, that it would be relatively easy to expand it to the rest of the university. No, there was a terrible battle. Why do you think that was so?
I think the core curriculum is a very important component of any institution, and it has to fit into the mission of that institution. At Brooklyn, we have that core curriculum, which is now 20 years old. And it ranges across from the classics to the sciences to literature to history. It encompasses the American experience through various directions. It encompasses non-Western traditions, and it really forms a very solid tradition. But it was built very much with the Brooklyn College student body in mind. What we wanted to do for those students, how we wanted to give them a basis for further study and for life in general. So I think probably some of the discussion that is going on is what exactly does a core curriculum do for a particular institution? And I think that's not a difficult question to solve. And I think that
because it would seem to me that Brooklyn is an important part of New York City, but so is the Bronx, and so is Manhattan, and so is Queens and Staten Island, and that the benefit of a core curriculum should extend to all of the students at the City University.
And I agree with that. I think that there is a real benefit, certainly to draw from the Brooklyn experience. And we started off very similarly. We said we want to teach certain broad areas. Now, how is this going to look on the ground? And the faculty did exactly that. They worked out the individual courses, saying we want them to be exposed to the classics. We want them to be exposed to the American experience. We want them to be exposed to the sciences, so that their worldview broadens and expands.
So tell me now, if I go to Brooklyn College and I want to major in liberal arts, what courses do I get exactly now?
The first thing that you will be doing is taking courses in the core curriculum, most likely to start with the classics, with perhaps a course in the performing arts, or an art course, with a course in American politics or American history, European history, merged together to get the Western experience. And you will do that in your first 2 years. While you are exposed to this broad range of the core disciplines, you decide on your major, unless you've already made up your mind when you came. And out of that grows your major program.
And
your major,
what could your major be?
You could be majoring program in biology, if you're interested or in other sciences, if you're interested in moving on into medicine, into dentistry, into some of the research professions. Certainly there's opportunities to social sciences and sociology and political science and history. Very important for us is the liberal arts in English, in the literature, in the classics program, which is a world-famous classics program. We're very strong in economics and accounting and business, where a lot of students head, computer science, which has the best program in the university, and in teacher education, which is really my pride and joy. The students who get through that teacher education program do very well on the qualifying exams. They get into jobs. We are participating in the reform, in the rejuvenation of the schools program. That School of Education is really on the move.
I was interested that you are strong in economics, because I found that aside from Brooklyn College and Baruch, which is a school of business basically, the other colleges didn't have a single course in economics. I found stunning thing to do, especially in this day and age.
It seems difficult to fathom, doesn't it? Because economics is so much a part of our life, and as students move into the sciences, into the social sciences, economics becomes one of the basic foundation stones.
Right. We'll be back after these announcements.
Good.
Do you think you have the power to change the world?
I can shape the future, one child at a time.
I know I can make a difference in those children's lives, and I know I have.
Who knows where my influence may stop?
I teach.
I teach.
I teach.
Yes, they're teachers, but to the kids they reach, they're heroes.
I think I have the power to change the world. The influence is always there.
Do you have the power to wake up young minds, to be someone's hero, to change someone's life? Reach for that power. Teach. If you want to make an impact on our future, call 1-800-45-TEACH. Want to change the world?
I teach. I teach.
I teach.
I teach. I teach.
Be a teacher. Be a hero.
We're back today with Christoph Kimmich, who is the president of Brooklyn College. And before the break, you were talking about how well Brooklyn College is doing on the subject of teacher education, which is very important because the mayor just recently in his State of the City speech talked about the fact that we have got to improve education in this city. And as you know, the Regents is insisting that there be high standards for students to graduate from high school. Mm-hmm. And the problem has been in the past that many of the teachers come from the city university, and in many of the colleges, like City College and others, the teachers have not been able to pass the teacher's exam. So I'm concerned that we ensure that all of the teachers are qualified and able to make sure that our students learn in the elementary schools.
I think that's a very important point. I think that improving the schools is all of our job. Our contribution to that is to prepare the teachers that are going to teach the students, many of whom will come to us. So there's a real interest in helping the schools improve the education, which we will then ultimately benefit from.
And you don't have any problem in doing that.
We don't have any problem in doing that.
What makes Brooklyn College so different that you're doing what some of the other institutions of the City University can do?
I think that we all got a wake-up call when we realized how many people were leaving the system, how many teachers, and that we would have to make sure that we would supply enough teachers to make up for it. We raised our admission standards into the School of Education. We provided them with the kind of educational programs and the curriculum improvements that they needed to be qualified. We have an extensive program of sending them out into the schools so that they do field work in the schools. The last test, a qualifying exam, the certification exam, 93% was scored by Brooklyn College graduates.
That's great.
That's a wonderful improvement. And much of that has to do with a committed faculty. Much of that has to do with, importantly, leadership in the School of Education, in the college at large. Much of it has to do with a vision of where you want to take public education.
Now, you also, in effect, have adopted some elementary and middle schools in Brooklyn, too.
Indeed,
Tell
we
me
have.
about those.
We have a college high school, and we have a college high school on the campus as well. So we're linked to Midwood High School, one of the premier institutions in the city, which is across the street, and we have a high school. In fact, it is 7 through 12 right on campus.
And how do the students in that high school perform?
They do very well. They get not only exposed to a very tightly constructed and to some extent integrated curriculum with the college, but they also get to be in an institution where their peers are an influence on them. They are in a place where they're college students, and that makes a difference. What my ambition is to see whether we couldn't create at Brooklyn College a school that starts at kindergarten and goes through grade 6, so that we would have a school that goes at kindergarten, goes all the way through to high school, and then on into college.
No, I've told you that this is what I want to do, because I want to develop what I call an educational park that goes from kindergarten all the way up through college.
Well, I'm delighted to have your support on this, because I've been working with the Board of Education to see whether we couldn't create this kind of link, which would take us from K all the way through 16, which is a wonderful experience for students to have, especially if we can be creative and innovative in the curriculum.
How does it look now?
For building that school, we're discussing it with the staff of the Board of Education, and they are supportive, but I think we're all concerned about where we're going to put this, what it's going to cost, and what's going to look like. Those are traditional questions. We're in the process of working those out. But the whole idea, I think, of going, that you're describing, of going from K through 16 is one I think that needs emulation all over the country.
Yeah, because as you know, I'm very concerned about the very high dropout rate in our public schools.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that even those kids who don't drop out,
right,
the ones who get a high school diploma, come to us at the community colleges and the senior colleges, and they really are not reading at 12th grade level. So something is basically wrong, and we cannot change all of that from the City University. We have to find ways of doing it better in the elementary and secondary school system, and I thought our colleges might be able to show the way.
I think you're absolutely right. What we see in our on-campus school, the Brooklyn College Academy, is that the dropout rate is virtually zero, that they all go on to college or to some legitimate postgraduate activity.
Do many of them come to Brooklyn College?
A good number of them come to Brooklyn College. We are very pleased to have them. And we cannot solve all the problems, but we can model a solution. And if that solution becomes permanent for those students, it becomes worthwhile for others to adopt and to emulate.
Okay. Well, listen, you are still, as far as I'm concerned, basically a scholar who is steeped in history, especially European history. Wasn't it a very grim century that we just finished?
It certainly was a grim century, as centuries go.
How do you see it as a historian? Why did we have so many wars, and why did so many millions of people end up getting killed? And is it likely that this miserable experience would repeat itself soon?
I mean, wars are not new, obviously, but we had them with greater ferocity in this century, with the increase in weapons of death, with technology, with the more sophisticated ways that we have developed, unfortunately, of killing people. That has really put the mark on this century as creating a war machine that is not obviously unique to one country or the other, but working together can create for devastating kinds of experiences. The roots of these are various. The roots obviously lie in the expansion across the globe. They lie in the ambitions, the imperial ambitions of countries. They lie in the search for sustenance, for support, for glory. And I think that we have seen probably both the best and the worst of those examples in this century. The century has been very instructive in that respect.
Well, we did have some good things. The fact that communism came to an end by itself without any war. The fact that the Berlin Wall was toppled and it was accepted by everyone. And the fact that even in Serbia we had another dictator who was removed. That seems to me very unusual, that those kinds of peaceful revolutions would take place, particularly in Europe.
I think that what we're seeing here is the growth of a greater democratic consciousness, because to take your example, the Berlin Wall really was a consequence first of building it by a dictatorship and the toppling of it by a popular uprising. There is, I think, a really extraordinarily wonderful experience in seeing the people rise to seek their sense of justice, to seek their sense of accomplishment, to seek their sense of humanity. That's very central. And we see that in Yugoslavia. We see it with the Berlin Wall. We saw it with the collapse of communism. These, I think, are examples of what we experience ourselves, and we have so strong roots in this country, also spilling over into Europe.
Now, you're a specialist in Germany,
yes,
German history, and you were born in Germany.
Yes, I was.
How do you think Germany is dealing with the problems that it's had? Because everyone is always looking at Germany as a dangerous situation because of the two world wars. And then it was divided, half of it being part of Russia and half of it being part of the free world. Has it become united now?
It has become united, but I think at least physically and geographically, yes. But it's going to take an awfully long time for those two pieces again to grow together because they've been apart so long. When you look at German history, the first half of this century, the first 45 years really were the grim period. And after that, for part of it, the grimness continued. For the other part, there was an attempt to grow into a larger European-oriented world. The difficulty with Germany is, of course, that it is central to Europe. It is enormously powerful economically. And the neighbors wonder how you can integrate such a powerful, potentially the most powerful country in Europe, into a peaceful, harmonious, cooperative network. That's the challenge for everybody.
Well, is there a danger that because of the divisions and the fact that it still is not totally integrated, Eastern Germany is far behind the western part of Germany, that you could have the rise of another dictator like Hitler, because apparently the Second World War came about because of the problems of the First World War, and the unhappiness that existed led to the rise of Hitler and the Second World War. Are the circumstances that exist now, in your opinion as a historian, likely to lead to more problems in the next 20 years?
I think there will certainly be social upheaval, because integrating a country which is so diverse and under such difficult circumstances is going to be tough, yes. But the solid foundation for success are there. We have nothing like the foundation that led to a Hitler or to a dictator of any sort. We now have, I think, the experience and the lesson of the past that creates for a much more promising, I think, fruitful opportunity in the future. I do not see anything. I see problems, yes, we all see problems, but I don't see anything like a situation that could bring back what we experienced in the 1930s.
Do you think that not just Germany, but all of Western Europe will learn from the past? Because it seems to me that over the centuries it's been Western Europe that has been responsible for most of the real bitter wars.
There certainly has been a lot of responsibility in that area. It's perfectly true. Learning from the past is tough. It's tough for individuals. It's tough for countries. We can just hope for the best.
Well, beyond Europe, where do you see the danger in the 21st century?
I think the dangers are going to be with overpopulation in general and the search for resources that maintain a country's standing, that maintain a population's growth. I see the difficulties in the large discrepancy between the more prosperous part of the world and the third world, and how we bridge those gaps. I see the problems, I think, in the dealing with, across the globe, with problems of poverty, of disease, and of discrepancy in education. I think education can play a very large role in helping us settle and move forward in that world.
Well, unfortunately, we're out of time, so thanks for being with us today.
Thank you very much, Herman. Delighted to be here.
You can reach us by email at our website, www.cuny.tv, or write to us at CUNY TV, 365 Fifth Avenue, New York, New York, 10016.